A crack of thunder split the night sky as rain battered the dense canopy above. In the heart of a remote forest, headlights flickered and died, leaving only the panicked breaths of a woman drenched and shivering. Her phone screen glowed dimly in the rain, flickering between GPS failure and total black. Somewhere, a voice crackled through the walkie-talkie. Static. Silence. Then a scream, not hers, ripped through the trees. She wasn't alone. She never had been. But what truly chilled her blood was the realization that the scream sounded familiar. The forest swallowed it whole, but its echo nested in her bones. The wind whispered her name. She bolted, muddy boots slipping on wet leaves. Her camera bag slammed against her back with every stride. Her documentary was never meant to be found. Yet now, someone else was hunting it, and her. The morning had started with mist and laughter. She had filmed birdsong near the lake, her voice a whisper to the lens. "We're just here to observe," she'd said. "No crew. Just her. Me. Just the forest." That was the plan. Her producer had insisted on discretion. No press, no bodyguards. A raw, untouched story. But that morning already felt like a lifetime ago. Now, crouched beneath a broken tree limb, her fingers trembling, she played back the last recording. Static. A warped image. Her face frozen mid-sentence, smile half-formed. Then, black. She clutched the camera to her chest. Something had shifted. Not in the weather. In the woods. They weren't watching nature anymore. It was watching her. She remembered the map, the old one left in the ranger's outpost. It had shown logging trails, long since vanished. She had laughed then, joking to no one. Now, she tore through her backpack for the crumpled page. Mud-smeared, nearly unreadable. But it held a single red X, a location she hadn't visited. A cliff's edge. A signal point. Her only chance. She stuffed it into her coat pocket and rose shakily. Every instinct screamed to stay hidden. But curiosity battled fear. What had screamed last night? And why did her name echo in it? Her breath steamed out in short bursts. She began walking, boots heavy with mud, breath matching the rhythm of distant thunder, still lingering like a threat. The terrain was unforgiving. Each step threatened to twist an ankle or sink her deeper in muck. But her determination anchored her. She followed faint markers, a felled log here, a broken fence post there, each one confirming she was on the right trail. She reached an overgrown path and paused. Something shimmered ahead. A flash of glass. No, metal. A vehicle. Rusted, half consumed by vines. She approached, heart hammering. Inside the truck bed, tools, old gear, a pair of boots too small for any logger. She ran her hand along the metal. It was warm. Recently touched. Someone had been here. Maybe still was. A snapping branch turned her blood cold. She froze. Breath held. The woods answered with silence. Then another snap, closer this time. She ducked behind the truck, clutching the camera tight. Her fingers brushed the edge of the lens cap, still attached. Idiot. She hadn't recorded anything since last night. She slid the switch. Red light blinked on. Another crackle of branches. A figure emerged, mud-smeared overalls, worn boots, grease on his hands. A man, late 30s. Mechanic? Trapper? He looked just as surprised to see her. "You're not supposed to be here," he said, voice rough as gravel. "Neither are you," she replied, not lowering the camera. He didn't move. Neither did she. The forest around them paused as if holding breath. His eyes scanned her face, her camera, the trembling grip on its body. She noticed the grease on his fingers, the frayed collar of his shirt, the fading logo that once read, Tully's Auto. Not a trapper. A mechanic. Miles from any road. "You followed the logging trail?" he asked, tone gruff but not unkind. She nodded cautiously. Got lost filming. He narrowed his eyes. That was 3 miles back. You shouldn't be this deep. She pressed. Are you living out here? He looked past her deeper into the woods. Something like that. She sensed evasion. I heard screaming last night, she said. His jaw tightened. He didn't deny it. Not everything out here wants to be seen, he muttered. And not everyone gets to leave. He turned, walking away without explanation. After a few steps, he paused. If you want to stay alive, follow me. Against every rational instinct, she obeyed. They moved through thickets and over fallen logs, deeper than she had dared. He walked with silent familiarity. Why are you really here? He asked, not looking back. I'm filming a documentary, climate change, isolation, life without infrastructure. Then you found it, he said flatly. They reached a hidden path, veiled by thorn brush. He pushed it aside, revealing a small clearing. A shack built from scavenged metal, tarp and wood stood crooked in the clearing. Smoke curled weakly from a tin chimney. Home, he said without irony. Inside, the air was warm, thick with the scent of burnt pine and oil. Tools lined one wall, handcrafted furniture the other. A small cot, a radio with exposed wires, a single candle burning low. She sat on an overturned crate as he poured boiling water into mismatched mugs. No electricity, no signal, he said, handing her the mug. Just instincts and heat. She took a cautious sip. You live alone? He nodded. Had a shop in town. Until the fire. She didn't ask more. Silence settled between them. She glanced at a map pinned beside the cot, dotted with marks, circles, red ink. You've mapped the woods, she said. He leaned in. No, I've mapped what's left of them. He traced the red circles on the map. These places, here, here and here, they've changed. Trees grow wrong. Sounds echo backwards. Machines stop working. She stared. I thought I imagined it, she whispered. Last night the GPS died. My camera's corrupted. He gave a grim nod. The forest rewrites itself. She frowned. What does that even mean? He didn't answer immediately. People came once. Surveyors, loggers, filmmakers. They all left early. If they left at all. She stepped closer. What about the scream I heard? He met her gaze. I think something followed you. His words hung heavy. The forest outside creaked as if in response. The radio crackled, unprompted. Both froze. A voice, distant and fractured, leaked through the static. Is anyone? Copy. She lunged toward it, adjusting the dial. Hello, I'm lost in. Static swallowed her words. The mechanic stepped forward, pulling the cord. You don't want to talk to them. She stared. That was a person. That was bait, he said coldly. It knows how to mimic. Her skin prickled. What knows? He stepped back. I don't know what it is. I only know it watches, waits, pretends. The radio hissed again. Please, help me. The same voice. Same cadence. Then it whispered her name. This time, the voice was her own. That night, neither slept. The storm had passed, but unease settled like fog. She sat near the fire, camera on her lap, replaying fragments. Static. Her whisper. Then, a warped frame. Trees bent at unnatural angles. A shadow moving without a source. You've seen this before, she murmured. The mechanic nodded. Once, a year ago, a hiker found his way to my shack. He had footage too. Trees breathing, eyes blinking in bark. Then he vanished. Left only his boots outside. She blinked. Boots. I saw a pair in the truck. Peace, he said. That place is a gateway. It shows you pieces of yourself you've buried. She whispered. What did it show you? He didn't answer. He just stared into the flames as if expecting something to speak back. At dawn, they packed light. He gave her a flask, a pocket knife, and a warning. Don't talk to anything unless it touches you first. Don't answer if it sounds like someone you know. She swallowed hard. Where are we going? The ridge. That's where your signal point is. But there's something else. As they moved through the deep woods, the silence was unnatural. No birds. No wind. Just the sound of boots and breath. The trees loomed tighter. Why do you stay here? She asked. I have debts to repay, he replied simply. And this place doesn't forget. She glanced up. Neither do I. He stopped. Then keep your memories close, or the forest will rewrite them. They reached a dead tree split down the center, jagged like a wound. Around it, the air shimmered faintly, like heat rising from stone. It starts here, he whispered. She stepped forward, camera raised. What is this? The breach, he said. A place where something came through, or maybe escaped. She circled the tree, the lens catching shapes invisible to her eye. Suddenly, a whisper, her own voice, whirled from the woods behind. She turned. Nothing. Don't react, he hissed. It copies. The moment you answer, it enters. Her heartbeat thundered. How do you stop something that wears your face? He stared at the breach. You don't. Deeper into the woods, they encountered remnants. Shredded tents, rusted cookware, a camera lens cracked in half. Someone else tried, she whispered. More than one, he replied grimly. She reached for a photo half buried in dirt. A girl, smiling, arms around a man whose face was torn away. I know her, she breathed. She worked my set last year. Then it's not a coincidence you're here, he said. It's calling back unfinished business. A shriek echoed above. They ducked. A shadow passed, faster than any bird. What was that? She gasped. Memory, he muttered. It flies here. They arrived at the ridge as twilight approached. Below stretched a valley, thick with mist. The mechanic pointed. Signal tower used to be there, burned down years ago, but that place still receives something. She set her camera to record. Do you think we'll make it back? He shrugged. Depends on whether we see what we came to see, or what it wants us to see. She stepped forward. Emily winced. Her boots hit stone. Her body pulsed. The air vibrated like a held breath. She raised the camera. Whatever happens, she said softly, this time, it's going on record. Behind them, the forest exhaled. At the edge of the ridge, the signal was faint but real. A single bar blinked on her phone. She pressed record. The camera clicked to life, lens focused on the valley below. This is day 3, she narrated softly. The footage before now is fragmented. This is where it begins to make sense or fall apart. The mechanic stood behind her, arms crossed, face unreadable. Keep your eyes on the lens, not on the woods. She did. Through the viewfinder, the valley looked normal, serene even. But when she glanced up, the trees below bent and pulsed, shifting like breath. You see that? She whispered. No, he said. But the lens does. A low hum began to build. Not from the device, from the earth itself. The hum deepened, vibrating in their ribs. The woman turned to the mechanic. How long until it starts? He shook his head. It already has. The trees below rippled like water. Shapes moved within, large, slow, deliberate. She tried to zoom in, but static overtook the screen. Don't force it, he warned. It shows only what it wants. She stepped back, breathing shallow. It feels like it's watching through me. It is, he said. You opened a window. Just don't let it become a door. Her fingers trembled on the focus ring. The red recording light blinked erratically. Something unseen had entered the frame. She didn't remember pressing record, but it was rolling. The camera sputtered and died. Total black. The woman cursed, checking her battery. It was full. The mechanic stepped toward the edge. It doesn't want to be seen anymore. She looked to him. Then why let us see anything at all? To confuse us, lure us in. He turned. He went dull. We need to go. But the forest behind them was no longer the same. The path had vanished. Trees rearranged like chess pieces. This way, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. She raised her phone. Compass spinning. GPS lost. We're not lost, she said. We're trapped. A noise echoed from the path, a rhythmic crunching. Footsteps. Stay quiet, he hissed. Don't let it choose a shape. They ran. The air felt thick, like moving through syrup. Branches clawed at their clothes, but the forest no longer followed natural laws. Trees bent away, then closed in again. The footsteps followed, not fast, but steady. She turned her camera toward the sound. For a moment, the lens caught it, her. Same face. Same clothes. But the eyes were hollow. Empty. Her doppelganger stood silently, just within view. Don't acknowledge it, the mechanic growled. Don't film it again. But the copy tilted its head, slowly raised a hand, pointed directly at the woman. She dropped the camera. It hit the ground but didn't break. She couldn't breathe. The forest held its breath again. The doppelganger stepped backward into the shadows and vanished. We have to move, he said. It's chosen you now. What does that mean? She asked, barely holding back panic. It won't stop until you let it in, or until you give it something it wants. Which is what? He met her gaze. You? Her thoughts raced. You've seen this before? I lived it, he whispered. The man who left the boots, he wasn't the first, and I wasn't the last. They moved quickly now, forest warping with every step. She gritted her teeth. Then we end it. We finish the footage. We show the world. He didn't respond. He just looked at her as if he already knew how this would end. They reached the burnt signal tower just after nightfall. A skeletal structure of rust and broken beams, it loomed like a monument to lost voices. The woman stepped through charred debris, camera in hand, flashlight trembling. This is where it ends, she said. The mechanic stayed outside. Or begins again. Inside, scorched floorboards creaked beneath her. Her breath showed in the cold. She knelt and placed the camera on a stable beam. A red light blinked to life. The lens stared into the void. This is what they never wanted seen, she whispered. The forest outside groaned. Wind howled through holes in the structure. And then, her voice again. Not an echo. Not from memory. But from behind her. She turned slowly. The figure stood inches from her. Same face, same clothes, eyes glowing faintly. Her doppelganger. You can leave, it whispered in her voice. Give me the lens. The woman gripped the camera tighter. Why me? The copy smiled. Small. Hollow. Because you're the one who watched. The one who recorded what should stay buried. It stepped closer. Trade places. Be free. Her knees buckled. Outside, a mechanic shouted, Don't look into its eyes. But it was too late. She saw something inside them, memories that weren't hers, pain that wasn't hers, but felt real. The forest didn't want silence. It wanted witnesses. She stumbled back, breaking the gaze. Her palm struck the tripod, and the camera crashed to the floor. The red light died. The doppelganger hissed and recoiled like smoke in reverse. The mechanic burst in, grabbing her arm. You have to finish the record. That's the only way it stops. It almost took me, she gasped. It wants what's true, he said. But it doesn't know truth from pain. Together, they lifted the camera. She pressed record again, pointing it at the empty air where the copy had stood. Show me, she whispered. If I'm the witness, then show me everything. The lens blinked once, then bloomed white. The camera showed images that didn't belong to the moment. Glimpses of lost hikers, surveyors, and the man who left his boots. A child staring through a hollow tree. screams trapped in bark. Her own face, aged, broken, alone. Then static. Then silence. She dropped to her knees. "It's a graveyard," she whispered. "Of memory. Of the forgotten." The mechanic knelt beside her. "It stores what we want face, what we buried deep. And if we record it," she asked, "then it becomes real again," he said. "And real things lose power." Outside, the trees bent back. The forest exhaled. The air cleared. A signal bar blinked green. Morning broke like a gasp. The forest, once choked and twisted, now stood still. Ordinary. She stepped from the tower, camera cradled to her chest. The mechanic followed, slower. "It let us go," she said. He shook his head. "No, you let it speak." They reached the logging trail. Her phone buzzed. First time in days. Dozens of missed calls. Messages. She was back. But something inside her wasn't. "What will you do now?" he asked. She stared into the sunlit trees. "Tell the truth. And keep the camera rolling." He gave a quiet nod, fading back into the forest like he'd always belonged to it. She didn't look back. The red light was still blinking. Weeks later, she sat across from a panel in a dim-lit studio. Microphones, lighting rigs, questions. "So you vanished for 3 days and came back with footage no one can explain," a journalist said. She nodded, calm but changed. "It's not about proving it happened," she said. "It's about showing that it did." Clips from the documentary flickered behind her. Blurry silhouettes, warped trees, the red blinking light. "And the man you mentioned? The mechanic?" another interviewer asked. She paused. "He never gave his name. He was the guide, the witness before me." They leaned in. "Where is he now?" She looked past the camera. "Where he's always been. Out there." The lights felt colder than the forest ever did. The documentary was released under the title, Echoes of the Pines. Reactions were explosive. Some called it a hoax. Others swore they'd seen those woods shift. Forums dissected every frame, every shadow. But one thing became clear. The story reached people who had felt something similar. Forgotten places. Things watching from the edge. "What if it's a metaphor?" a reviewer wrote. "For trauma, for grief, for memory itself." But the woman knew. It wasn't a metaphor. It was a gate. In private, she reviewed raw footage again. One frame she'd missed. A man in the background, brief, blurred. The mechanic, watching her. From behind a tree that hadn't been there before. Driven by a pull she couldn't ignore, she returned to the forest. This time with a full crew. They followed GPS paths, mapped the area she claimed. But everything was different. No signal tower. No clearing. Just endless trees. Her producer pulled her aside. "We're days behind schedule. There's nothing here." But she knew better. One night, she wandered from camp, camera in hand. Alone. The wind whispered her name, not like before. Not sinister. Soft. She turned. The trees had parted. Just enough for her to pass. She stepped forward, camera rolling. "Let me see," she whispered. Just once more. The path twisted in ways the earth shouldn't allow. Up became sideways. Forward looped. The trees pulsed like they breathed. But she wasn't afraid. Not this time. She followed the path until the forest fell silent again. At the center, the shack. Whole. Lying. Untouched. Just as before. Smoke rose from the chimney. She approached. The door creaked open before she could knock. He stood there, unchanged. Grease on his hands. Same look in his eyes. "You came back," he said. "You were waiting," she replied. He gestured her in. "I knew you'd finish it, but some stories aren't done until they're lived twice." Inside, nothing had changed. The tools. The cot. The map with red circles. The forest opened again, he said. Why now? She asked. Because you believed. He handed her a fresh roll of film. There's more to see. She smiled faintly. Will it ever let me go? He shook his head. No. But now it knows you'll listen. She took the film. And what about you? He looked to the door. I belong to it. As she stepped out, the world outside shimmered again. Her camera blinked red. The final shot began rolling. Not by her hand. The forest had started telling its story on its own. She stepped back into the world, changed. The air felt thinner here, ordinary. Her film premiered in a quiet theater, more art piece than feature. The audience sat in stunned silence. No jump scares. No climax. Just image after image. Trees moving against logic. Static becoming form. Her voice trembling as she asked, Who is watching who? Some left confused. Others shaken. One man sobbed quietly during the final shot. Afterwards, she stood alone in the lobby. Film canister clutched like a secret. A critic approached. This doesn't feel like fiction, he said. It isn't, she replied. He stared at her. Then why release it? She looked past him. Because people forget. But film doesn't. She walked home in silence, through streets loud with traffic, faces lit by phones. Reality buzzed. But something remained with her, quiet as breath, sharp as memory. She opened her apartment door. Familiar furniture. Soft lighting. But her camera, set on the desk, blinked. Red wide. She hadn't turned it on. Approaching slowly, she looked through the viewfinder. The image inside wasn't her apartment. It was the shack. The mechanic sitting alone by the fire. Watching the lens. Watching her. Then, slowly, he raised his hand. A wave. A farewell. Then the image glitched and vanished. She sat beside the camera. I see you, she whispered. Her footage was studied in secret. Universities requested copies. Private investors made offers. Conspiracy forums exploded. One night, she was invited to a symposium. Experts debated whether the forest was a psychological mirror, a multiversal breach, or natural madness. She said little. Just listened. Afterward, a young girl approached her. It happened to my mother, the girl said. She walked into the woods and came back. Wrong. The woman knelt, looked her in the eyes. Does she still see it? The girl nodded. At night, in reflections. The woman didn't flinch. Then she's not alone, and neither are you. The girl smiled. Not with joy, but relief. In the final days of editing her director's cut, she added one more scene. Not the forest, not the breach, but the silence after. A recording of her sleeping, breath steady, camera blinking red in the dark. This, she narrated softly, is what it leaves behind. The ability to rest, to watch without fear, to remember and not run. She paused the edit, stared at the timeline. Her hand hovered over the delete key. Then, she added a note instead. For those who see things they cannot explain, this isn't proof, it's presence. She exported the cut. Outside her window, trees swayed gently in the city wind. On the anniversary of the forest's breach, she returned. Alone. No camera. No gear. Just herself. She walked the same path, now closed by brush, as if it had never opened. But she knew where it was. She sat on the forest floor, listening, breathing. And then, without thunder or flash, the air shimmered. Not violently, not urgently, but welcoming. A breeze whispered through the trees, carrying a scent of smoke and pine. She closed her eyes. I'm still watching, she said. The wind answered with a hush. She stood, turned away, and walked back toward the world. Behind her, the forest watched. Silent. Still. But never gone.